Hello everyone, good evening and welcome to Alum Connect of Excel 2020 MEC in collaboration with the Electrical Minds Forum. I am Shalsa Maria Benny from Triple 6.
And I'm Malavika S. Menon from CS4B. We'll be hosting the session today. We wholeheartedly welcome all of you to this session.
Let us start off with a brief introduction to Electrical Minds Forum. Electrical Minds Forum is a student body organization under the Electrical Department of Model Engineering College, committed to the advancement of the frontiers in knowledge in electrical engineering and provides students with a stimulating and rewarding learning experience. It aims to act as a bridge between the students and the strides made in the industry. EMF conducts various events and training sessions to impart quality and value-based education to budding engineers.
Okay, now let's come to our speaker, Mr. S. Divakar Bhatt. Divakar is a 2017 pass out from the Electrical and Electronics Engineering Department. He was an active presence in several different clubs at MEC. He was the chairman of the Electrical Minds Forum, the joint secretary of Excel 2016, and the marketing team head of Excel 2015. We offer you a very warm welcome to this Alum Connect session.
Thank you.
So, thank you, Divaga, for your illuminating presence even amidst the COVID-19 pandemic.
Are you always passionate about taking up electrical engineering? Is that something you wanted?
See, always passionate in the sense, I don't know if any of you or any of us were always passionate about engineering. For me, I was very passionate about physics. It's like, I won't mind keep on learning, keep on reading, or keep on working on physics kind of problems. And I was in a mind, and during my plus two, plus one and all, I was, you know, that kind of time, right? You all attend GMain or IIEEE, whatever GMain. Then hopefully you feel ki, you are prepared. You all go for this entrances. Then you feel ki, you will get into some good university, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, same. I went through the same things. I gave GMain. I hope I would do well. Then I also attended BITS Pilani's exam. I hope I would do well for that also. But both were a complete flop. I didn't qualify for GMain, and BITS Pilani also nothing happened. And between this, I wrote Keem, and I was of the mind कि हाँ कुछ ना कुछ तो हो जाएगा at least BITS और GMain का कुछ निकलेगा. So I thought कि ठीक है कि I will write just as if, because I registered, I will go and write. All of my friends are writing. But finally, what rescued me was Keem. That was the only thing which I had. And I had plans to go for BSc Physics because I was not happy with whatever I had. But then I realized that electrical from talking to a lot of people, they told that electrical engineering lies pretty close to physics. You can shift to physics if you are pursuing higher studies. You have option to shift into physics if you want to. So that is the reason I landed up in electrical engineering. And from there I picked up, and 4 years you learn, unlearn, you find your niche, and you develop some interest sometimes. And yeah, that's how I landed up in electrical engineering and all, and that's how MEC life started. Nothing like I was always passionate about electrical engineering. Frankly speaking, I never even knew model engineering college existed before that.
That was a wonderful revealing. So let's move on with the next question. So, one of the major achievements of EMF Society is the Project Urja. As the chairman of EMF in 2016, could you speak about what was the motivation that led towards the project?
See, in our first year and all, we never knew such clubs existed. Most of the clubs were dormant in that time. I think EC Max, I suppose, right? Electronics communication, that club was mostly doing something or the other, but other than that, most of the clubs were kind of dormant. So in final year, final year, we our seniors tried to do organize a few events in EMF. Then we came to know that such thing exists. Electrical department has its own club and all, and we were never completely into it. But when the seniors gave the charge, hand over the charge to our batch, the EMF team for year 2016, it was so lucky that team had a lot of creative people with high spirits. Other than everything else, people were so high in their spirits that they wanted to do something or the other. It's not like they they never wanted to be in that position and leave the club dormant without having any events or something, but they want to do something or the other. So initially we never had plans for Urja and all. We were of the same, we were traveling the same route as most of the clubs did. We planned the Vidyut Tarang exhibition, which we conducted. It was pretty, and at the same time, we had support from the immense support from the faculty, and uh, also there was, I don't know how if it is there still now. We had KCB part-time students also. So they also, we all discussed one day, and then we decided we will start off with an exhibition. We had a plan for exhibition, but it went large scale when we also talked to these KCB part-time students. Not just KCB, I think we got KCB and all those part-time students. So we started off from Vidyut Tarang. It was a good exhibition with a lot of a few schools and colleges also coming up from outside, because there were few things which you will never get to see, even even in your college or maybe even in your career. Such things were there, especially for electrical students. So after that, we had one talk session, then some Qs, all that sort of things. But then beach mein, the I think even all of us, even the youth, current youth population is like they want to give something or the other back to the society. Most of the people have that thought. I feel so, and that batch was pretty adamant about that. And in our group, in our class, also everybody was having such thoughts. But we never connected it to EMF. But somehow, somewhere or the other, that landed up in the discussion which we had in EMF club meetings. So we thought, yeah, we will do something. Initially, we just thought we will try to implement some solar lamp kind of thing in some bus stop or something. It was so, it started very humbly. We just wanted to do something which we thought we will maybe in NGO or something, we will try it out. But again, then after multiple discussions and all, it just scaled up like anything. Spirit just rose up like anything, and we thought of electrifying some village and all. Then we also talked with we were able to get some details of villages in Ernakulam itself, which were not electrified from these part-time people, because they knew, right? They have information. So we were able to get a list of villages, and we had no idea which one we were doing. And we also got a local contact. He was a lawyer turned environmentalist kind of, Aziz Kunupalli. He was pretty helpful that time. And we joined with him, and initially when we went, we had no idea about where we were stepping into. We just went to Kuttambura. After Kotamangalam, we went there. When we reached there, initial plan was to go to some other village. I don't remember the name. It was beyond the. We should cross the river that day, but it was during the monsoon. So we were not able to cross the river because at that time the river will start outflowing, and some issue happened with the ferry system. So then, as all of a sudden the whole plan got changed, and we never knew. We were taken to some other village. It's called Uriampeti. There, it was like the travel was like very hectic. Initially, when we committed, we were like, yeah, this is not going to get over. How are we supposed to come and come and go multiple times? Because it took somewhere around 4 to 5 hours to travel upwards, and you should also come back before it is night, because obviously because of the wild elephants there. So we only had a window of 2 or 3 hours there. So initially when we went, we were like, okay, we just kind of surveyed the place and all. We just saw these things. We never thought we will be able to pull it out. We just saw, we know how this much houses are there. We might be able to implement these things. We just returned, and we discussed with the faculties and all. And then we came up with one technical rough plan about it. But where we got stuck, or where our commitment came, is like when we first visited the village, the villagers were normally, such kind of helps came from political parties, but they had vested interests. So they gave something in return for something. But then when they knew we are students, I don't know, maybe they might have felt we might be more genuine or something, but we returned back with some moral obligation towards them. They felt we will come back and do something for them, and we were never able to unsee that. So that's what pushed us to get Urja done. It took somewhere around 7 months or more than that. So that's what held us together throughout that period.
Yeah, there must have been some serious technical expertise that was required for Urja, right? And how did you manage to pull that off?
Yeah, technical expertise in the sense, see, even even if we were in third year or final year or something of electrical engineering, we had very less idea about designing solar plants and all that kind of stuff. But we knew we could pull off. We never did that, but we knew we can do that. So what we did is like we searched the internet and all. We just came up with rough ideas how to design these plans, how to calculate the power requirement, how to design the solar panels kind of stuff, how what kind of batteries we will need. All those stuffs were researched, and then we came up with one plan. We then submitted to the department. It went through multiple hands, Raija ma'am and all, and then they pointed out that there are some issues in that, and we kind of tried to rectify it. It was okay, and then we took that. We relied on that proposal kind of in, and it was for somewhere around 20 houses, something of that sort. Yeah, it was around 20 houses which we targeted. So proposal was ready, and that's how the initial plan came up. But then it got modified a bit when we were able to get an club it with the Green Roof Solar Private Limited, who supplied us the materials, the plans, solar panels, the batteries, and all. They modified it a bit so that it will remain within our budget. So it was like we came up with the whole thing, but it got modified quite a lot when we approached the company for good reasons. But yeah, initiative came from our own side, from the department and all. So we pulled out something.
So usually these kind of projects, you might have to give a closer look to this financial and legal problems. So how did you cope up with all those things?
Yeah, like the financial problems and all. Initially, see, I told you about the proposal part, right? We had the proposal ready. We thought key Excel was going parallelly to that. So we knew key CSR initiatives, all these stuff were there. So we thought we'll approach some company with the CSR for the CSR fund. And we were so naive ki we thought we have a good proposal, we are genuine enough. So when we go and talk to these people, they will just fund it out. So we tried to approach a lot of companies, nothing worked out. Then we went to a company near, I don't want to mention. We went to a company which is pretty prominent in Cochin, and we went there. They're welcoming, but the problem is like you can't blame anybody. Okay, so the problem is this: we were a bunch of students who had no experience in designing solar plants or designing anything, any stuff. We were just in our final year, third year or final year. So see, so then you can't blame them if they are doubtful about investing in such things, even if it's CSR. So they initially encouraged us, but it just died down. So we tried somewhere for 3 to 4 months and nothing worked out. Somewhere around August, September or something, we knew key this is not going as we planned. If we want to implement this thing, we should find somewhere or the other some money. We knew some estimate what we wanted. So what we did is like we just went for crowdfunding. Crowdfunding in the sense it would sound pretty good. Yeah, the online crowdfunding was decent in the sense it was standardized. Other way which we found, which we raised the money was like uh, receipt. We printed a lot of receipt books and we went to all the houses near our college and we just distributed the receipt books to anybody who is ready to get some donation and all. And then that's how we started to collect maybe 10 rupees, 100 rupees. Some places we never got anything. It was like they just, again, students. So they thought maybe they are just bluffing. So it was not smooth initially, but gradually we were able to raise around 2 lakhs, somewhere around that. I don't remember the exact amount. So somewhere around that, we were able to raise from both this crowdfunding and received for asking for donation from wherever we can. Even from college, we were able to raise some decent amount of money. That's how we raised the complete amount. Again, the same MEC way. We did it from scratch. We were not able to, or no, we were not able to secure any funding from anywhere. But the whole funding came from the effort of each and every student of the college. So that's how that worked, and that's that's how we raised the money completely for the project. And
So
legal
the-
part in the sense, yeah. We even approached a few political parties for this funding and all, but nothing worked out. Again, same reasons. And also, even if there was a chance for making it work, the timeline for such kind of formalities was too huge. We met around one MLA, one MP, one party secretary, and we went to meet the collector's office and all. All of them were ready to help, but the timeline was too huge. We were supposed to graduate in 1 year, and we won't be able to meet the timeline if both of this was there, because we won't be able to do the project in 1 year if that was the case. So again, and so we were not able to secure the funding from there also, and we relied on the local support. The local people were supportive, and also the village, the panchayat members, and all such sort of things were supportive there. So legal wise, also we never had any issue.
Okay, now we have a question from the audience. How was your GATE preparation days and your life at IIT Bombay? It would be a great motivation for those who are looking towards higher studies.
Okay. Yeah. Gate preparation days in the sense, it frankly speaking, it spanned somewhere around 2 years, I suppose. Initially, during the final year or something, some of us friends joined a coaching institute. Again, I was very choosy. I was not a classroom kind of guy. I used to score, I agree, but I was never a classroom kind of guy. To sit somewhere and learn was very hard. So I attended somewhere around 2 or 3 subjects out of the whole syllabus. Parallelly, we had Excel, so I found some reason to always bunk those coaching classes, and I never completed those classes in the final year. And I gave my GATE 2017, and I qualified, but it was not sufficient for anything. Then again, it's a confusing time where I was not sure, okay, should I go for a placement? Everybody is sitting for placements. If I don't sit for placements, how will I turn out? You see, you will have peer pressure. I had a lot. Then somehow I got over those things. I decided, okay, I'm going for higher studies, whatever happens. But once these results came, GATE 2017 didn't go well. Same time, I think I had an offer from one company, which was the only one which I was able to crack. It was okay. It was a decent company, but then I decided, oh yeah, I just don't want to compromise. So I just deferred the offer, and I thought I will sit for a year. And I knew I was not a classroom kind of guy, so there is no point of going to Hyderabad or maybe see Delhi and all, because it's just a waste of time. It won't be useful for me. It's a specific case, okay? It's not the case with everybody. So what happens is like, I decided I'm not going anywhere. Internet is there. You'll get all sort of stuff you want to learn and all. I just thought I'll sit in my home. I took a whole year out. I sat in my home. I prepared, and yeah, like you will learn a lot of things when you are out of the college and when you face these kind of challenges all on your own. You have your parents, you have your friends to support, but still there will be a lot of emotional turmoil along with this. There will be a lot of tensed phase because you are not sure about what is going to happen. So yeah, that 1 year I learned more than I learned for the past 4 years. Learned in the sense life skill wise, and at the same time preparation. I relied on online tests mostly, and yeah, whatever problems I can get, I just try to solve it. And I always ensured I make new mistakes every time. I just don't repeat the old ones. So that helped some way or the other. Yeah, and that GATE 2018. After that 1 year, GATE 2018 somehow clicked.
So let's go with another question from the audience. Is the research scope in IITs at par with the international universities?
See, research scope in IITs, one thing I'll make clear from my perspective, or at least how my priorities were. You will have a lot of financial burden if you are choosing to go. At least that was the case till now. If you are choosing to go for a master's at a university outside. Not all cases, there are exceptions. Okay, there are cases, courses in Germany which are way less financially burdening, but still. So in the international courses, nothing worked out the way I wanted. So I just thought I will just stick with the GATE part, and I invested a whole year into that. And when I reached the university, it was a bumper offer. I was very happy with what I got. Even when I reached there, the research part which I was integrated into was also very satisfying for me, because that's the specific thing which I wanted. So when you see the research scope wise, it mostly depends only on you and your professor. If you are ready to work completely, and if your professor is very much encouraging, and IITs do have all this exposure and facilities, okay, so उसका कुछ issue नहीं होगा. But if you are ready to work, maybe your peers may not be. Even in masters, your peers will focus more on job side. So if you want to do research, you have to decide you will do, and you have to invest enough time on that. Research never happens, especially quality research never happens just within a few months. It will take some time, and you should be patient enough. So when you compare research quality, IITs, especially old ones and some few of the new ones, do come in par with, even NITs do come in par with the international institutes. The difference comes in the numbers. As I feel ki more people are not getting into this, so number of research happenings or publications coming out and evaluation happening in that direction is pretty lower in Indian institutes compared to the international ones. But if you see it in individual scale, I would say it's all up to you. If you are ready to work, Indian institutes, national institutes, all these faculties are ready to help you. You get enough exposure, way more than what you used to get in MEC, and that's more than enough. It's all up to your work. If you are ready to do hard work, if you have a plan, if you are interested, and if you ensure that you stay out of the peer pressure, research happens pretty decently, not decently, pretty good. The publications which go from IIT Bombay and all, they go only to the topmost conferences, journals and all. But number wise, it may be less. But quality wise, it's always good.
Okay, we'll take another question from the audience. How easy or tough is it to change the subject after BTech, and what is the challenge in learning a new subject?
I hope by subject he means the stream. Even I had that issue. I did my BTech in electrical engineering, completely power side. I was happy with that, but I wanted to shift a bit into this robotics, AI, ML kind of stuff. So it is very hard. You, especially, or you had two options. If you are going outside, you can apply to such courses, and that way you can try to switch your stream. But if you are trying for GATE, your options are very limited. Limited in the sense, either you will have to write, say, assume you are an electrical person, you want to shift into computer science. If you want to go for computer science courses, you will have to write the CS GATE. Not all cases, but in most cases, you will have to write CS GATE. There are a few options where they take students from electrical engineering background through interviews and all, but still most of the universities, most of the Indian institutes take up students even from electrical engineering background to computer science if they qualify, if they have ranks in CS GATE exam. That's how you normally shift. But the catch is that you don't, if you are landing up in good institutes, Indian institutes, you don't have to be in a specific stream to change your research direction. You can be in electrical. See, when you reach such kind of institutes, when you are ready to do such kind of research and all, the boundary between these streams are very narrow. It's very light. You won't find key. It is very. You don't have a hard boundary. You don't have hard boundaries in such cases. So you can pursue. You can be in electrical engineering department and do CS scholar research. In my case, that's what's happening. I am in electrical engineering department, and I'm doing my courses in control and computing. It is mostly with the electronic stuff and all, but mostly theoretical, so nothing hardware related. And along with that, my research is going in some other direction. It's like mostly in AI, ML, computer vision, that kind of stuff. So if you want to switch and all, it's always possible, but just ensure that you pick up the required skills. Being a power engineer, you won't have the skills which you want to be, which you will require if you want to switch your streams into computer science or something. I was never good at coding. Most of the coding tests I flunked. So initially when I joined IIT, I had an issue ki, will I be able to do that? The question they asked me was, do you have good coding experience? I told them ki I used to, but I'm not good at it now. I will pick it up. So it's all about your hard work and how you are ready to invest your time into learning something. And one problem with me was that I never did that during my BTech. I should have. You should try to find some, if you are interested, okay, it's not a generalistic thing. Not everybody will be interested in engineering. People will be interested in shifting their streams completely from engineering to something else. That's always fine. But people who want to pursue technical side or such sort of careers, always try to stick to one skill and try to be very good at it. It will be very hard if you're trying to do it in the final year, but it will be very rewarding if you start doing it at least somewhere around the second year, last to third year. Try to do it one small step at a time. Again, if I talk about the coding part, same cliche thing, go into HackerRank, do things and stuff and all this coding stuff and all. But if you try to do that during your placement time, it will be very hard. But you won't be able to cope up with the pressure sometimes, or you won't be able to learn. You will be just trying to do something. You will just try to find some other code, learn from that. But if you try to do it before that, somewhere around third year and all, you will be able to pick up the skill gradually. You have enough time. So if you are planning to shift your career, try to pick up the relevant skills and then choose which way you want to go. Maybe you want to shift your career directly by going to a specific job, or maybe you want to pursue higher studies. Again, it's all about your choice. It's all about your hard work. The boundaries started to get blurred when you go up. So just choose what you want, be obsessed with that, and keep on pursuing it a bit before the deadline.
Okay, so sadly, because of the time limitations, we have to wind the session up.
Okay, so I think all of us had a great experience. Thank you so much, Diravar, for spending your valuable time with us and also for sharing your views and suggestion with us. And we thank all of the audience who actively participated in this event. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks a
sir.
lot.